Okay, I'm delighted now to be joined by Tom Sutcliffe, who's corporate lawyer at Excello Law. Big supporters of Downtown and Business, of course. Tom, good to see you.
Hi there, Frank. Good to see you too.
And listen, before we get into the conversation about your love of Aston Villa, I've got to ask you about a couple of those frames behind you, because I can see Jack Grealish, and that's obviously understandable. What are those two horrible things either side of it, mate?
Well, as you well know, Frank, I live in a divided house, and the boss, who's the wife, happens to be a red. So we compete for space in the gallery, and whilst Grealish gets pride of place, unfortunately, he's surrounded by reds.
Well, we'll move on quickly from that. Tell me first how you became an Aston Villa supporter.
Okay, well, I was born in Worcester, which is about 30, 40 minutes south of Birmingham. Moved when I was young to 30 or 40 minutes north of Birmingham to Stafford. Dad's a Yorkshireman, no ties to Aston Villa. In fact, he was a Halifax fan. Took us to the Shea a couple of times, but that didn't really grab us, our attention, me and my brother, to be honest. So it was a friend of the family who was a Villa fan. He took me and his son to a game. And this is probably, I was born in 75, so this is 81, 82, when, Villa were a massive club. They'd won the league, they'd won the European Cup in 82. So I think this was probably about 83, 84. We were playing Coventry City at home and won 4-1. Great atmosphere, full house at Villa Park. And you know what? When I was thinking about speaking to you today, that's just in my head that we won 4-1 against Coventry. I've never checked whether that's actually happened, but it doesn't really matter. In my head, we won 4-1. We were the best team in the world, and that was it.
And you sort of fell in love with the club then. It's funny, everybody I'm speaking to said the first game, the crowd, the atmosphere. And when you're a kid in particular, that feeling when you get walking into a full football stadium is just, it's indescribable. It's actually something that can't be matched.
It is, which in the current climate, it does beg the question, doesn't it? I've talked to my son about going back to watch the Villa as soon as we can, and he's not really interested until the crowds are back.
Yeah.
Until we can get a full capacity stadium, he doesn't want to go when it's half full, because you just don't get the same experience. But, we are where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sooner that happens, the better. And listen, you've mentioned the 80s there in Aston Villa. And again, I'm having to say this to a few people I'm interviewing. I'm slightly older than you. I remember Aston Villa having quite a difficult time, actually, during part of the 70s. I think they fell into the old third division at one stage. And then they sort of started to come back. And one of the very first away games that I attended, which was about 77, 78, was at Villa Park. And I've been to many semi-finals. I don't think I've ever seen Everton getting beat there, actually. I know we have been. I've just been fortunate. But the first game I went to Villa Park, we beat you 2-1. Duncan McKenzie scored a couple. And then, as I say, we've been to subsequent semi-finals and we've always won. The thing that strikes me about Aston Villa's stadium is that it's managed to combine the old traditional feel of great football stadiums with more modernity. So you do have the corporate hospitality, you do have the ability to generate income, something that, my club, for example, have not managed to be able to do at Goodison Park, and are having to move on. But it is a great place to watch football, Villa Park, Tom.
And that's certainly one of the reasons why I got hooked. Is the atmosphere at Villa Park? It's second to none. When it's full, I don't think there's any better place. And I think that's partly because Villa haven't got beyond themselves, in that they've never tried to increase capacity too much, because you want a stadium that's full rather than one that's 3/4 full, and you just don't get the same atmosphere. So I think they've done the right thing. They've always kept the whole end, and they've never done too much to that. But they've changed the other and modernised the other parts of the stadium, whilst maintaining a capacity which they know they can fill. I think the problem you get is some of the clubs have built new stadiums, but built them with capacities beyond really what they can fill. And I think then you compromise. You're always going to compromise an atmosphere.
Yeah. And last season, Villa, obviously I keep a keen eye on the results because we've got a big Birmingham network, but they've always been a club that I've liked to sort of support. I wouldn't say they were a second team, but they're one of those big clubs that you want to see in the Premier League. And pre-lockdown, I was thinking they'll be all right, Villa. And one of the reasons I thought you'd be all right was because of that home crowd and the advantage that gives you. I have to say, when we went into that situation where we were going to be playing games behind closed doors, I did worry for you. But you just had, right at the end there, a spurt of form that just about got you over the line, not least because of the form of that man's shirt that is behind you, Jack Grealish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Villa fans felt the same, although, when you're down the bottom and you're fighting for survival, home advantage isn't always because the pressure that comes with playing at home when you're in that sort of predicament, I'm not convinced it's home advantage has the same effect as it might do at the other end of the table. Okay. The other thing I think that was important to that end of the season was the return of John McGinn. Him and Jack Grealish have got a great partnership at the start of the season when we looked reasonably strong. As soon as McGinn got injured, we were a different team. So I think him coming back at that end made a difference as well.
And just in terms of coming into the new season, lots of speculation about Grealish's future, but at this moment in time, he remains an Aston Villa player. Is it key for you to keep him if you're going to maintain your Premier League status, do you think? Yeah,
absolutely. It has been for the last 3 or 4 seasons. I think, as well as I do, when you're in the sort of position that Villa are in, and Everton to a lesser extent perhaps, it's as much about who you can keep as who you can buy. And for us, if we can keep Grealish, and keep McGinn, keep Mings, then that gives us the spine of the team. We're desperate for a striker, but I think other than that, if we can keep what we've got, we'll be okay.
And what would a good season look like for Aston Villa this season then?
Survival. Right. It is. The Premiership is incredibly hard. You look at the teams coming up, Leeds and West Brom, and it's tough. So for us, mid-table mediocrity is like winning the league. But having said that, I've got a son who's enthused by it, and staying up this season was like winning the league. It really was, and so having some excitement at the end of the season rather than it finishing 2 months before the season end is quite good fun.
Yeah, and FA Cup, League Cup, traditionally Aston Villa were always good cup runs, and as I say, on a traditional level, I can't remember how many FA Cup wins they've got, but they've got a few in the League Cup. I remember, again, showing the age, but I remember Brian Little, I think, scoring a winner in a League Cup final. And you've often taken those cup competitions in the past as the place where you would expect to see Villa success. Is the importance of Premier League status now to the point where the cups have almost become insignificant?
Unfortunately so. And that's about money, because staying in the Premier League is so important from a financial perspective that, that's got to take priority. We have got a great history, particularly in the League Cup. And I think it depends, if we're being brutally honest, if the big clubs take them seriously, then, the clubs like Villa are going to struggle to compete. But, they still, for the fans, they're still really, really important. We go whenever there's cup games, we try and go, because they are one-off games where other teams might take their eye off the ball, and so all of a sudden we've got a chance of beating the big clubs. So for us, from a fan's perspective, they're certainly really, really important still.
And if I can turn your attention to the other end of the table, again, a conversation that I find difficult at the moment, but you can't really see much beyond City and Liverpool, can you, in terms of an ultimate winner?
No, I think that's right. I think Chelsea are going to spend heavily, aren't they? And I think they'd like to think they're going to be competing. And I think, Man United towards the back end of last season started looking like a good team again. But, in my personal view, and I've got to be careful what I say in these 4 walls, as you I think Liverpool looked great at the start of last season. I thought they finished, less well. I think Man City started to look the better of the two sides, and so I think it's going to be close to call between them. I put Man City as favourites at the moment, only just, but I put them as favourites. And I think, United and Chelsea hopefully will at least make things a little bit more interesting and make it more than just a two-horse race.
Mm. Yeah, because if the Premier League is to maintain that standard that it's had for many years now, of, every game is a big game, anyone can beat anybody else, as much as, it hurts me to say, Liverpool was so far ahead last season that it did lose a lot of the interest at that end of the table. And actually, if you become a bit of a Scotland, Celtic Rangers scenario,
nobody wants that.
The whole brand, doesn't it? So you would hope that somebody can perhaps get into a bit of a race with them, and it might be Chelsea. I'm a big admirer of Frank Lampard, not necessarily a big admirer of Chelsea, but to see a young English manager doing well is no bad thing. Listen, Tom, before I let you go, a couple of other things to just ask you about. Firstly, if there's a match that you could go back to and experience again as an Aston Villa supporter, what would it be? What's that game from your memory that you think, wow, that was the
that's a no-brainer, that one. That we beat Liverpool, which is obviously close to the heart, in the FA Cup final. It was last season, season before, and we beat 2-1. That was unbelievable, partly because of the family connection, obviously.
And that was your favourite moment as a Villa supporter?
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely awesome. Me and my son are the two Villa fans amongst a family of Reds. That was amazing.
And in terms of players to watch in the Aston Villa lineup, we all know about Jack Grealish. We know about John McGinn. And, of course, Mings got some good press last season. Not sure whether he's broken into the England squad this time round, but he was certainly rumoured to be on the verge. Anybody else that we should be looking out for, do you think?
I'm not sure there's any new faces yet. That there's a guy, Keenan Davis, who's been young lad, English centre forward, traditional English centre forward, strong and fast. He's looked like he might break in and might do something. So I'm hopeful, because we desperately need a striker. It'd be nice for somebody from the ranks to come through. Other than that, we've got a couple of wide players who, they're not new to the Trezeguet came in at the end of last season, scored some really important goals for us, but has flattered to deceive a little bit so far. We've got El Ghazi, who's capable. So, yeah, we've got a few on the fringes who haven't yet quite fulfilled their potential, but if they do, they're good Premiership players.
Well, listen, Tom, I, for one, will be one of those objective supporters who will be looking for Aston Villa to at least survive this season, maybe do a little bit better as well. And I think, actually, if you keep hold of Grealish, you've got half a chance of having a more comfortable 9 months ahead of us. So great to see you. Hope to see you at one of our live events soon as well, mate. It'd be good to catch up.
Yeah, will do, no doubt. Cheers, Frank.
Cheers, Tom. Thank you.
See you soon.